Cool looking garbage has taken over my studio shelves, and that means it's time to make some trash terrain. Today I'm going to show you how I turned this protein powder jar into these structures which I have learned are called Quonset huts, a wargaming terrain staple. So let's just dive right in. First things first, we gotta take out the scoop, which is much easier to find without the powder inside. And we're gonna hold on to it for now. Scoop and jar are yin and yang, so I feel obliged to use it later. The jar itself has some seams which I will use as guides for cutting, very convenient. I have this engraving tool, and I'm gonna use it to trace the seams for an easier cut down the road. The label here will be my guide for the cuts going across the jar, so I'll go ahead and trace the edge of that too. It's kinda cool to see that the plastic coming off of this thing as I cut is a way lighter blue than the jar. Nifty. Ooh, look at that peel. And continue to score until it's ready to cut with a knife. It's not perfectly even, but that's a-okay. This is garbage after all. So once I have my tubular semicircle cutouts, I'll place it so it's standing up on a piece of foam core board along the edge and trace out what will become the end caps of the structure. With the pencils done, I repeatedly punch little holes along the curve with a knife so it's easier to cut out the final shape. Then I score along the punches with the knife and make my final cut. Once I have that first shape cut out, I'll use it as a template and cut out 3 more. Easy. Then I stack them together and sand them down so they're relatively smooth. Next come the bases, and I'm still using that same foam core. I'll place the jar cuts atop the board and draw out a square. Since this is just the base, it doesn't have to be super precise. But as before, I'll trace out 3 more and then glue them together in pairs so that they're extra thick for that added stability, and then put them aside to dry. But before I proceed, I'd like to find a way to keep the end caps at a regular distance between the 2 structures and provide a little internal support for when I glue the whole thing together, and I got an idea. First I lay out my walls end to end and draw some dots on each piece equidistant from the bottom to mark where I'm going to put my supports. Then I take some kebab skewers and cut them down to roughly 10 centimeters, and then punch them into the foam core to hold and glue them in place. The structure needs doors, right? Well, I have this plastic clamshell that used to hold the SD card which this footage now lives on. It'll be perfect. It's got a protrusion for a door and some kind of console/control panel. I've really lucked out here with this piece. I'd also like to build a frame around it to hide the seams and make it a little more visually interesting. So I cut out some small strips of foam core from my scraps and glue them above to act as some kind of mantle, and some leftover skewer pieces to the left and right to act as supports. As for the back wall, I don't want to leave it empty, and I think this will be a great place to add the scoop. So I cut it in half with my scissors and remove the handle, then glue it so it sits flush with the bottom. Now, I don't know what this will be yet, I'll figure it out later, but that's part of the fun of making trash terrain. It's time to affix the roof. I'll take the plastic down so it's flush with the walls and go nuts with the hot glue gun inside where the walls and roof meet. The fact that the hot glue sets almost instantly is a godsend here, otherwise I'm sure the plastic would fight me on this. Now at the moment, the roof is a little devoid of detail, and I'd like to break up that shape. I'm going to add some reinforcement banding over the top. I cut up a few beverage can boxes to a uniform length and width, then glue one on either edge of the roof as well as one across the middle. In addition to making the plastic a little more visually interesting, this will also help hide irregularity on the cut edges. And while the roof dries, I'll take my knife and bevel the edges of the base, then sand them down for a more natural looking slope up to the structure. Then I put those structures, roughly centered on the base, do a quick trace around the edges with a pencil, and then glue it down. Then using the same method as before, I'll cut out more strips of beverage can box and glue them along the length of the structures outside, flush with the floor so everything looks nice and clean and level. With the finish line in sight for this stage of the project, I cover the base in wood glue, then sprinkle some cat litter here and there, and then finish covering the rest of it with sand. But there's something missing. I haven't really decided what I wanted to do with the scoop structure in the back yet, and... shit, the power went out. After sitting in the dark and thinking about it for some time, I decide the best move here is some piping. And for that, I'll need bendy straws. I cut around the bendy part and a straight length of straw to sit atop the scoop and connect with the back wall. This piece I guess will be a generator or a heating unit. Time to paint. I'm putting on a glove here because things are about to get messy. First things first, I cover the whole thing tip to toe in black paint. I use craft paint from a big box store for terrain, as it's cheap and you can easily buy the same colors across the store's different locations. It just seems to take a little longer to dry. Now, I would probably recommend a black spray primer for this step, and I'll talk about why later. When it's mostly dry, I'm going to apply burnt umber to the base. I love this step because trash terrain always looks like shit until it's painted, and now is when it really starts to look like what it's meant to be. And when that coat is mostly dry, I'll paint the entire structure with pewter gray. Next, I'll take a little bit of green paint and darken it with burnt umber, then paint the door console, piping, segments of the roof between the support bands, all of the accent color areas. Seriously, are we doing this again? Alright, now with candles at the ready, I'm going to wash the structure. I've thinned a burnt umber black mix to where it's basically just tinted water at this point and paint the entirety of the building. Now I'm going to leave that to dry and wait for the dang power to come back on. But thankfully, that doesn't take too long, and it's super easy from here. We just go over it with the same colors as before, starting with the gray. Then I use the green straight from the bottle without the mix-ins, and do a little stipple down the center as well as a dry brush effect to follow up. Remember my primer comment? As I was doing this, I was actually tearing away some of the previous layers of paint. Apparently, this type of plastic does not get along well with acrylic paint, and if I had used a spray primer, this could have been avoided. I'll make some mistakes so both of us can learn from it. Then I mix a little burnt umber in with a color called parchment and dry brush the ground around the building. Almost done. I dab some wood glue around the base again and cover those areas in Woodland Scenic's green flock. Man, I'm excited. This build is really coming together, but I need to add some finishing touches. The obvious choice here is like a number above the door, so I'll use a pencil to sketch out some of those spray, stencil, military styled numbers. I'll go with 3 and 4, and I'll fill those out with black paint. As for the back, I'll draw and paint a little electrical warning symbol. At long last, I guess I finally decided it's a generator. All wrapped up and ready for wargaming. I've been meaning to make some of these for a while. They fit in any setting that has tanks and guns, really. Personally, I play a bit of bolt action in 40k, so these for sure will see some table time there. And because I use these same paints across all of my terrain, they're sure to fit in just perfect. I'm excited to start rolling some dice. Thanks for watching. I hope you're inspired to do something with the trash you have laying around too. Please remember to drop a like and subscribe. Both are free to do and really help out. This is Bristle Cult. Happy painting and happy building.